There is this phenomenon called active couch potato. So people who are otherwise working out, but then very sedentary through the day. So waking up early is one very important skill that people who are hustling otherwise should definitely build. And second is time management, and third is quick wins. Like I said, these things will take go a long. In the end, you just got to move. You just got to lift weights. You just got to eat clean. Uh, you just have to avoid overeating. You have to sleep well.
Evidence based fitness advocate, TEDx speaker, and the founder of CultFit. Our guest today on the Settle or Be Better podcast is Mr. Rishabh Telang, who's going to be talking to us about movement, discipline, and a lot more. So, welcome, Mr. Rishabh, and over to you. Why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your personal health and well being story?
Thank you, Sakshi. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. Glad to be talking on your podcast and to talk about my personal health story. I think it just so I used to be an athlete. Back in the days, I was a basketball player. Wanted to make my career in that sport, which didn't eventually happen. Uh, and so I'm talking about 25 years uh, back. And then I knew that I'll have to study, get a job. So I just finished my MBA, worked in corporate for about 6.5 years. And while I was working, I traveled a lot uh, to to Europe, different countries out there. And while I was traveling, it was just easier for me to strike some work life balance. And I also sort of got a little out of shape during that time. My health took a back seat, during the end of college and towards the end of college and during my work stint. But while I was in Europe and things, uh, I just got exposed to CrossFit and really liked the format because it was very differentiated. Hadn't seen anything like that before. Uh, Movements that are continuously changing, intensity which is varied over different days. So I really liked doing CrossFit and later got deeper into it. Did my CrossFit L1, did my CrossFit L2 in Vegas, became a CrossFit trainer. At the same time, I also got exposed to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, which is a form of martial art, more to do with grappling and very skillful form of sport. And I think because I came from a sporting background, I just picked up the sport quite fast. And then I competed again in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, did a bunch of competitions, got injured a little bit. But then I was sort of spending a lot of time just training. I started taking time off and go to Thailand for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, whatever I could manage, and just train and nothing else. So I realized that if I'm spending a lot of time on fitness and sports. This is something that I really like to do. I've also, over the course of time, I've also read a lot about fitness and science, and I've also experienced it personally. I have a lot of inspiration with respect to the kind of coaches that I had met in all these places. Plus, I've done some studies and certifications. So why not just do more justice, to my career and become a full-time fitness professional? And that is where uh, it all started from a point of view of getting much deeper into it. But I was always into fitness and sports, barring a short period in between when I just lost touch.
That's an amazing story, and it's really amazing to know this little part of your life here today. So, thank you for sharing that with us. And talking about health, obviously there's nutrition and then there's movement. There's so much noise around nutrition, and there's just so many opposing opinions, food wars happening. But today we'll focus on movement because even after knowing your story right now, it looks like it's been such a big part of your life, right? Like so many years in different phases of your life, and movement has always been there. And there's something that you wrote on your Instagram the other day, which really hit home about movement. So let's dive deep into that today. To begin with, what are some movement principles that have stuck with you through the years? In different phases of your life, but you still follow along with those, and they are really important in your life.
I think one very basic principle that I just organically follow and is a large part of my life is just be very active through the day. Uh, I mean, we are built for activity. If you just go way back in time, people had to, uh, be out there to find food. Uh, they had to be very active and alert all the time to save themselves uh, from animals. So activity was not just something that we look at uh, today. Today we say that you got to be walking 10,000 steps, you got to be doing movement patterns like hinge and squat and push and pull, etc., which is of course the right way of doing it. But then if you think of it in reality, uh, it was a fundamental skill which was needed for our survival, and which is why I think the post that you're talking about, I had written that our bodies were designed for movement. We are designed to move, and if we restrict ourselves from moving, then we just stop healing, we just stop improving, we just stop growing, and that is because of this one example that I gave you, that fundamentally this is what we are supposed to do. We are supposed to be moving. And if you look at kids, I have a 1 year old son. He's just moving all the time. He's never in one place, other than when he's sleeping. He just gets up and he's just moving around. uh, and for him everything is all those natural instincts, right? And that is what humans are supposed to be doing. So one principle that I live by is just keep moving through the day. Do not sit. I do have to sit because I'm in meetings. I'm like sitting even right now while I'm talking to you. But all those things are something that none of us can avoid. But how do you undo the effect of too much sitting is what's important. And as long as you're consciously doing something about it, that is one important principle. Other than that, I think lifting weights is something that I feel everybody should be doing at any point in time, because that helps you build muscle. That just helps you again move better. It helps you improve the quality of movement. It helps you improve your performance in exercise or in sport or in activities of daily living. So some form, some shape of weightlifting is something that everybody should be doing. It does not need to be very intense like a powerlifting athlete or a weightlifter, as long as one's challenging themselves a little bit more every single day or week over week. I think that's good enough. uh, so these are just couple of very important principles that I live by. To sum it up all together, uh, there's never been a day when I end up missing uh, being active through the day or lifting weights. There has never been two consecutive days when I just end up missing one of these two things. It's pretty simple if you think about it. It does not need to be complicated. Just lift weights, be active through the day, give your muscles and your tissues some time to recover so that you can do it better.
Absolutely, that makes so much sense, and it really simplifies it down to things like don't miss 2 days in a row, or find ways to move. It doesn't have to be just like a 1 hour of workout that you've scheduled. Even when you're traveling, because I recently saw when you were traveling, the way that you talked about what you do for movement and exercise when you travel specifically. That is also very helpful, right? And it's true. I mean, today when we say movement, we think that scheduling that 1 hour of exercise for the day and we are done for the day. And most of us just do that. We know that today I've had this workout for 1 hour, now I'm done for the day, now I'll just sit through the day, or like work and just focus on that, and not really prioritize any other sort of movement. But it really matters what we do throughout the other part of a day, right? Like after we walk out of a workout and what we go through the whole day, it really is important. And
In
another
fact,
thing that I wanted to ask you is that uh, probably men in their 20s 30s who are not married, who don't have children, might find it a lot more easier to prioritize this, and this might be at the top of the priority, right? And what we've been discussing in a lot of other episodes as well is like a lot of fathers find it tough to prioritize their health right now because there's just so many other responsibilities, like there's kids, there's finances, and if you're an entrepreneur it gets even more tough because I've seen so many people with startups that right now they'd be like like these first 4 5 years is where I have to really hustle hard for my business, and it's okay if I push down my focus on my health a little bit, because that feels like, it's more important to focus on your work and give it your all, and you work long hours, work overnight, and that's the hustle as we talk about it, and health often gets left behind. But you have seen every part of it. You've been an athlete when you were not married, when you did not have any kids, then you had your business, and now with a kid as well. So how has it changed for you? Was it difficult? And especially after being a business owner and a father, like, what are the changes, and how did you sort of tackle with these little challenges and still maintain your discipline throughout?
I think, first of all, I agree that hustle is an important part of anybody's career. We are all hustling every day. What I don't agree with is working overnight, uh, qualifying as a part of the hustle. I think we need better time management for sure, and especially in the context of things that you spoke about, running a business, being a father, and everything else. You need to also spend time on your workout. You need to also spend time on your own personal growth. All of those things are important. Uh, so what we first of all we need very fundamental skill that we need to learn is better time management. As long as I mean, if we are able to do that, then I'm pretty sure we'll not have to spend the night working or doing anything else. um, and if we just use the night for sleeping better, we'll actually be so much more productive at everything else that we do. Sleep is the foundation of everything: health, fitness, and productivity. So it starts there. Prioritize sleep. I understand for new dads it becomes difficult. Uh, I mean, for me as well, it was first 2 months of having a child. Sleep was a little harder, but it just got very streamlined afterwards. In fact, my workouts have been so much more efficient after having a child. And I'll tell you why. So, one thing that we did was we just followed his natural cues. We never wanted to push him to fall asleep. We never we never wanted to push him to get force fed. So if you've seen on my videos over Instagram, uh, I mean, he just loves eating food, and he eats on his own. He's if he just refuses to eat, that's it, and we just keep offering him food again and again. And if he eats, that's great. If not, uh, I mean, that's fine also, because what's important right now at that age is building skills. The skill that he needs to build as a 1 year old kid is a better relationship with food or better relationship with sleep. And it just builds up and compounds over a period of time at any age. So if people in their 20s, 30s who are just swapping through tasks and hustling a lot, for them, as if they have built those kind of skills over a period of time, then they'll always be better off. So in my case, I wake up very early. I wake up at 4 a.m. I and my son wakes up at 7 a.m. So I have those 3 hours to just focus on myself. And after waking up at 4 a.m., I just do a quick couple of any sort of movement that I can do, because that just makes me very active. It could just be a 2 minute jump rope, or it could just be some mobility drills, so that blood starts to flow in, and I feel better mentally. And that's not for exercise, that's just to wake me up. And then I spend so basically what I do is I just look for a few quick small wins in those first 3 hours. And as long as I start my day with those small wins, those quick wins, the rest of the day goes on, uh, like a cakewalk. Everything else goes as it was planned. Everything, my time management is on track. Versus the days when I'm not able to wake up, or I'm taking an early morning flight, that's very very different. So 4 to 7, uh, I would just, like I said, just start my day with front loaded with some movement, and then read a few pages in whichever book that I'm reading at that time, or just spend some time, because at any point of time I'm doing some sort of certification or a course. Spend some time doing that. So first uh, hour or so goes in, uh, you know just my upgrading my knowledge as a key and a quick win for myself. After which I would just go to the gym, get a 1 hour 75-minute long workout, come back and just spend time with my son, just do my morning rituals with him, give him a bath. So because I wake up early, by 8 a.m. I've just done so many things, including taking him for a morning walk, getting him some sunlight, etc. That the rest of the day, it seems like that I've already, the important part is already done. Just get work done now, and then you are done for the day. So waking up early is one very important skill that people who are hustling otherwise should definitely build. And second is time management, and third is quick wins. Like I said, these things will take, go a long way.
Absolutely. That looks like one amazing morning routine, especially for a young dad, because one would imagine a young dad being all over the place, with work and with the kid, like, being all hurried up in their morning. Because I feel like it's more important for young fathers to sort of take this time out for themselves and prioritize this from this time itself, because otherwise once you are into that mode where you prioritize everything else above your health, it gets quite tough to change that after decades, right? Because I see my father, and I have never, I mean, from a different generation altogether, right? Like they didn't really have that fitness culture growing up. They didn't really even see their parents working out or anything. So, and at that time money and finances were more important than anything. And I have seen him for like 2 3 decades live the same life day in and out, right? Like just office and home, office and home, and there's nothing else happening in between. There is really no concept of like taking out time for yourself, and working out is for yourself, not just to repair the damage you've done for your health, but it really means so much more than that. But now in his 50s is when he's starting to do all of these things, learning about these things and making these changes. But I feel like it'll get really easier if young fathers, young parents in general, start doing this in their routine from like the first year onwards when they have the child, and it becomes a lot more easier. And even the child would grow up to be in such a healthy environment, and seeing the parents and model them when they grow up. So that makes a lot of sense. And it looks like you're doing it with so much ease right now. So I hope that all everybody who's watching this.
In fact, what I would, so this is like waking up at 4 a.m. is not something that people can do. If they're not used to it, it's not something that they would just start doing from tomorrow. So I think what people need to understand is starting small and accumulating those key wins is very important. So if you're used to waking up at 8 a.m., maybe wake up at 7:30 starting tomorrow, and then just keep making it better over a period of time. If you just go for that all or nothing approach, then more often than not, people will end up failing. So it's just one small step at a time. And what's also important when it comes to movement or any sort of health behavior, uh, more important than hitting that 90 minutes of heavy lifting or intense cardio and things like that is doing something which qualifies to be movement or exercise. As long as you do it for 10 minutes, that's fine. uh, what's important is that you do it every single day, because when you do it every single day, it makes you the person who works out. And once it gets connected to your identity, once exercise
Mhm.
becomes a part of your identity, there is, you know there's no way of just looking back on it. Instead of just from whatever I shared, the takeaway should be do something that is movement, exercise, nutrition, and healthy every single day. Make it a part of your identity, and that is how you become unstoppable in your health journey.
Absolutely, and that is a major part of it. I mean, it's not just a new resolution, or it's not just a prep for a wedding or an event, right? Like it's your life, and it has to be a part of your identity, some or the other ways, some form of workout that makes you feel powerful. And like you said, when you're done with that morning routine, you feel so accomplished and ready for the day, right? Like you've already conquered the first half of the day, and there's really nothing that would put you down throughout the day. Because if you would feel the difference when one of the mornings you'd probably miss some things out, and then there's
Yeah.
these little things not happening your way in your work, at office. It would really affect you much more than any other day that you've done your morning routine, you've done what you wanted to do for your health and if, for your well-being, right? So it makes a major difference. And having this sense of accomplishment is something that we really lack today, when we are just in this rush of getting our work done and getting our finances done, all of these other responsibilities. We forget to have something that makes us feel accomplished. Like athletes do it on a regular basis when they are performing, because they're peak performers, so they do feel accomplished. But us who are not athletes or doing it for a health reasons, it's really important to schedule accomplishment in our life. And you've put it out really, you've really simplified it, the way you talk about it, and the way you portray it and lead by example. So thank you for sharing that with us. And what would be some of your non-negotiables for health?
Uh, like I said, sleep. Prioritize sleep as the first fundamental behavior. Generally, people, which you also mentioned, right? People end up working overnight. At times, working late at night and responding to emails late at night is also glamorized in the corporate world. At times, people just end up planning their sleep around everything else. You may be busy at work, you may have to go for a movie or anything, and then whatever time is remaining is what your sleep gets. But it should be the other way around. You plan those 7 hours of sleep, and then the time that is remaining is you do whatever you want to do. So sleep as a fundamental behavior is something that is a big non-negotiable. Second is purposeful exercise. And purposeful exercise and activity are two different things. I'll just tell you what that means. uh, Purposeful exercise is when you decide to go for a half an hour workout or a 1 hour workout. When you decide to go to the gym and lift weights or do cardio or go for a swim session, even when you go for a brisk walk, that is purposeful exercise. Make sure that you're spending those doing some sort of purposeful exercise at least 3 to 5 days a week. That's the second non-negotiable. Third is activity. And how it's different from purposeful exercise is there is this phenomenon called active couch potato. So people who are otherwise working out, but then very sedentary through the day. They spend the entire day sitting on a chair or on a sofa or in their car. And those are the people who qualify to be active couch potato, that you work out, but you are sedentary. People who work out can also be sedentary, because people who are working out are the ones who spend time doing purposeful exercise, and sedentary are the ones who end up sitting a lot through the day. And the negative effects of being sedentary does not get negated if you are just exercising. So being active through the day is very important. Just walk more. It does not have to be brisk walk. You don't have to take your heart rate higher. You don't have to think about just climbing stairs, because it is a little more it's more difficult than just walking. Just do something that is movement. Even if you are standing more, that's great, but just avoid the total sitting time. And then next is going to be more to do with nutrition. Uh, Prioritize eating protein. Eat your proteins first before you get to the starches, before you get to the carbohydrates. That's one very important skill that needs to be built. Finally, spending time with your family, because a lot of studies tell us that spending time with family also helps you recover. Spending quality time with family and friends help you recover better from other stressors in life. So these are the few non-negotiables that are at the top of my mind right now.
Absolutely, and it always does come down to the basics when we are trying to understand the hard stuff, the very scientifically, researched, new things that we want to do. But it always comes down to the basics, because if our fundamentals are not strong, then there's no way that we can, build something more on it, right? So that makes so much sense. And as a fitness expert, when someone comes to you, who has a very busy schedule, who are probably business owners, or I don't know, someone who has a, like, 10 to 12 long working hours a day and have commute to do to go back home, and from work, what do you suggest, like what does a typical week for them look like if they work with you?
So you're saying that people who are very busy,
Right.
uh, if I have to help them get fit, what would I suggest?
Right.
Okay, sure. So I think first of all, it would be to just bring in a lot more activity in their lives, even before I, ask them to go start hitting the gym and doing 150 minutes of cardio, which is generally recommended. First is to just figure ways of being more active than what you are right now. It could be that you, when you go to work, you stop taking the elevator and you take the stairs, and make that a promise, make that a commandment. It could also be that every, let's say, every 4 hours, you just do one bout of activity for 20 seconds, and do it 3 times a day. Since you mentioned 10 to 12 hours of work day, every 4 hours would translate to doing it 3 times. And even this can help you improve your markers of cardiorespiratory fitness just this much. It does not even have to be, a purposeful 1 hour activity
True.
in the day. So my first focus is going to be to just make sure that they start doing something which makes them a little more active than what they are right now. I would at the same time also focus a little more on how hydrated they are, because again, another very, I mean, when you are not hydrated, you just feel more lethargic, and that drains productivity, one, at work. If you are not productive, and now people that we are talking about are very busy in general,
Hmm.
they also probably emphasize their work life a lot, and if they are not able to be as productive as they should be, it will lead to a lot of just restlessness, and
True.
that would, take everything off track, because when you're also not mentally in the right place, you'll end up making the wrong nutrition choices as well. So my focus would be on just figuring out a little bit on their hydration, make it slightly better than where they are. And when these things are being adhered to, I would start talking to them about exercise. And exercise also maybe 10 minutes a day, 3 times a week, not more than that to begin with. If that is happening, we just start focusing on 1% improvement every single day. Or from 10 minutes, I probably will take them to 11 minutes to 12 minutes, and then maybe add one more day. But I would just take it very slow with these people, because if I push them too much, they will for sure not be able to stick to the plan. So my first focus is going to be adherence. That this is a very simple plan that I have for you. As long as you are 80% adhering to it, let's take it to the next level. If not, let's figure how to get to 80-90% of it. When they are at 80-90% adherence, then it's clear that they are ready to take it to the next level. And that next level, that is where I can bring in some program design. So then I can talk about, you start lifting weights, you start focusing on improving your movement patterns, like your squat, hinge, push, pull, rotation, and things like that, and also start adding load. That is when I will start introducing some concepts of volume and intensity into their program design. But that is only going to happen when they are 80 to 90% adhering to these very, very simple behaviors.
Right.
So that is how I'm going to look at programming exercises in their lives.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because not many coaches also put in this thought because once they, begin with a client who has this kind of a schedule, but they know that, they've told them that I'll be coming here for this time, for this 1 hour every day to work out. And what happens sometimes is that the coach and also the client, both of them are putting their all in the first week itself, the second week itself, right? And this the bench is set too high and already in the first 2 weeks, that is why a lot of people have a hard time sustaining this because it's not sustainable because your basics are not right. You're not sleeping well, you're not hydrating well, you're not resting, you're not recovering. So going all in the first 2 weeks is the problem today with the new resolutions or just anything that we want to any reason that we want to begin with, right? So that makes so much sense. And my last question would be that what is it what is the identity you want for your family to have, like as a family and for your son as well when he grows up? What values and what identity do you what how do you want people to see you as a family when it comes to health and well-being?
Yeah, I think when it comes to health and I mean, most important, when it comes to uh, my son, I just want him. First of all, I want him to be a good human being, be kind to people. Like that's the moral code uh, that we want him to live by. But inside the moral code is where I just want. I hope that fitness, movement. uh, really good relationship with food uh, are things that very prominently figure. So when people talk about, I mean, which is the case even right now, when people talk about us as a family right now, they know that these are the people who end up sleeping at 8 p.m. Every night. These are the people who prioritize sleep as an important part of their day. Uh, these are the people who would mostly eat clean. In fact, uh, uh, if you take a look at my kitchen, at our kitchen, you wouldn't find any piece of junk. And this is one activity that I had done long time back. My wife and I, we just decided to do a kitchen cleanup, and many years back, we just took every piece of junk, every piece of processed food out of our kitchen, and that has not entered our kitchen ever since. Even when we have guests, we cook food in a very healthy environment. Uh, there's going to be no junk. There's going to be no processed food when people visit us at home. So that is another, these are the people who eat clean food all the time, have really good relationship with food. They don't end up overeating. They don't end up binging on food. And these are also the people who prioritize exercise and movement. There's a huge impact of what your supports is, what people around you does. And then if at a later point, if our friends and family look at us as a strong support system for them to incorporate healthy behaviors in their lives, I think that would be success for me.
Absolutely, and more power to you for that, because we need to realize that we don't have to do this alone, and especially when you as a family together can do it. There's nothing like it, because then there's nothing breaking that down for you, and it that is always what happens. Like there's so many arguments at home when one person is trying to get their health on track and everybody else is just like not interested. It makes a major impact. So having those values and building those values, and it'll be much easier for young parents to begin right now than think about it much later, decades later, and try to inculcate that in their life. So more power to you for that, and I really enjoy every single update that you show about your son, or when you're traveling, or with your family, all the simple things that we often tend to forget. We've been told, we've heard this many times, but when you really see someone leading by example, and when you see the impact that it has on their life on a daily basis, it makes a major difference. So thank you so much once again, Mr. Rishabh, for being here today and sharing these insights. And as we conclude the episode today, are there any last messages or thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think just look at fitness and health as something which is very natural. It is not complicated at all. No matter how much it may how complex it may look like on the internet and otherwise, it's again in the end, you just got to move, you just got to lift weights, you just got to eat clean, uh, you just have to avoid overeating, you have to sleep well, and these are the things that help you achieve long-term fitness. There is a really good concept that I generally talk about. uh, I've spoken about this in other such conversations also. uh, there's this book called Every Day is Game Day, which says which talks about a concept of performance day. And performance day basically means there are four pillars: uh, movement and exercise being one pillar, nutrition being another, mindset being the third pillar, and recovery being the fourth pillar. As long as you are consciously putting in some effort to do something about each of these pillars, your day, it becomes a performance day. And as long as you are 80% adhering to these pillars 100% of the time, then you can call it a success. You don't really have to like go after 100% doing everything every single day. 80% adherence, but 80% adherence all the time is what we need.
Absolutely, that's a really powerful message. And here's to many performance days in a week for everybody listening to this right now. So, thank you so much for this message and for being here today, for your time. We're really grateful to have you here. And for the ones who'd like to reach out to you, it's not like nobody knows Cult Fit. Everybody listening to this already is a big fan of it. And I'm sure that they can reach out to you, they can learn more, and probably get a chance to uh, train with you someday.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sakshi. Really enjoyed the conversation.
That's it for today's episode. I am Sakshi Pawar, and I'll be your host for the Settle or Be Better podcast. So stay tuned while we bring more inspiring stories. You know the drill. Subscribe to the Settle or Be Better podcast, like, share, and comment on our videos. And oh, hit the bell icon because you don't want to miss the mind boggling health discussions we're about to bring for you. Why settle when you can be better?